Welcome, weary traveler, to a quiet journey back in time. As the modern world hums with its endless demands and the day's concerns begin to fade like distant echoes, allow your mind to drift. Tonight, we will not delve into the grand narratives of kings and queens, nor the clash of armies that shaped empires. Instead, we will gently turn our gaze to the silent, enduring heart of the medieval world, the peasant. The one who tilled the soil, mended the thatch, and lived a life deeply intertwined with the rhythms of the earth. This is a story not of power or conquest, but of quiet resilience, of a strength born from necessity, and of a profound connection to the land that sustained them. So dim the lights, find a comfortable space, and let the gentle current of history carry you into a peaceful slumber. Imagine, if you will, a landscape not so different from the one you know, yet profoundly altered by the passage of centuries. The air is cleaner, perhaps, carrying the scent of damp earth and wood smoke. The sounds are simpler, the distant lowing of cattle, the rustle of leaves in an ancient forest, the soft murmur of a stream. There are no distant sirens, no constant hum of electricity, only the natural symphony of a world untamed. In this world, time is measured not by the ticking of a clock, but by the slow arc of the sun across the sky, the changing hues of the seasons, and the rhythmic cycle of planting and harvest. It is a world where every sunrise brings a new set of tasks, and every sunset brings the promise of rest, a rest earned through honest labor. The very fabric of existence was woven with the threads of nature, a constant reminder of humanity's place within a larger order. The sun, a golden orb, would rise with unhurried grace, painting the sky with hues of rose and amber, signaling the start of another day's quiet endeavor. Its descent, equally serene, would usher in the cool embrace of twilight, a time for reflection and the gentle winding down of the day. Our journey begins not in a bustling city, but in a small, nameless village nestled in a gentle valley. Perhaps it is in the rolling hills of England, or the fertile plains of France, or the vast forests of Germany. Its precise location matters little, for its essence is universal. This village is a collection of humble dwellings, their walls crafted from wattle and daub, a simple yet effective blend of woven branches, mud, and straw. Their roofs, thick with thatch, slope gently, often bearing the marks of countless winters, a testament to their enduring struggle against the elements. Smoke curls lazily from holes in the roofs, carrying the faint aroma of hearth fires, a constant beacon of warmth and sustenance. The paths between the houses are not paved, but worn smooth by generations of bare feet and sturdy boots, winding like ancient veins through the heart of the community. Each dwelling, though modest, held within its walls the quiet dignity of a life lived with purpose, a sanctuary against the vastness of the world outside. Here, life is lived in close proximity. Families, often extended, share single-room homes, their lives interwoven with the lives of their neighbors. There is little privacy, but much shared experience. The joys are amplified by communal celebration, the sorrows softened by collective empathy. Children play in the dusty lanes, their laughter echoing against the quiet backdrop of daily chores. Women gather at the village well, their conversations a gentle counterpoint to the creak of the bucket and the splash of water. Men work the fields, their movements synchronized with the ancient rhythm of the plow, their voices occasionally rising in song or shared lament. This is a world where every hand is needed, every effort contributes to the survival of the whole. The bonds of kinship and neighborliness were not merely social conventions. They were the very sinews of survival, a network of support that caught individuals when they stumbled and lifted them when they fell. The shared labor in the fields, the communal meals, the collective prayers, all these activities reinforced the profound interdependence that defined their existence. As you settle deeper into this historical landscape, allow yourself to feel the subtle textures of this existence. The rough weave of homespun cloth against the skin, the cool, damp earth beneath bare feet, the comforting weight of a wooden tool in calloused hands. Notice the way the light filters through the small, unglazed windows, painting shifting patterns on the packed earth floor. Hear the gentle crackle of the fire, the steady breathing of those sleeping nearby, the distant hoot of an owl. These are the sensory details that define a life lived close to the land, a life stripped of modern complexities, yet rich in its own profound simplicity. The scent of wood smoke, a constant companion, mingled with the earthy aroma of damp soil and the faint sweetness of blooming wildflowers in spring. The sounds of the village, though never loud, were a constant comforting hum. The distant bleating of sheep, the soft clucking of chickens, the rhythmic thud of an axe splitting. These were the gentle whispers of a world in harmony with itself, a world where every element played its part in the grand symphony of life. We will explore how these ordinary people, without titles or grand ambitions, navigated a world fraught with challenges. How they faced the specter of famine, a constant shadow lurking at the edges of every harvest. How they endured the ravages of plague, an invisible enemy that could sweep through a village with terrifying speed, leaving silence in its wake. And how they lived under the authority of lords, whose power, though often distant, shaped every aspect of their existence. Yet, through it all, they found ways to survive, to adapt, to find moments of joy and connection amidst hardship. Their story is a testament to the enduring human spirit, a quiet symphony of resilience played out against the vast backdrop of history. It is a narrative that speaks not of dramatic battles or political intrigue, but of the quiet heroism of everyday life, of the strength found in perseverance, and of the profound dignity of labor. Their struggles were immense, their triumphs often small, yet their collective story is one of profound significance, a testament to the enduring capacity of humanity to not just survive, but to flourish in the face of adversity. So, breathe deeply. Let the gentle narrative unfold like the slow unfurling of a medieval scroll. There is no urgency here, no need to rush. Simply allow the details to wash over you, to paint a picture in your mind's eye. This is a history designed not to stimulate, but to soothe. A story to help you unwind, to release the day's tensions, and to guide you towards a restful night. Let the whispers of the past become the lullaby of your present. We begin now with the very foundations of their existence, the land itself, the silent, patient partner in their enduring journey. In the medieval world, the land was not merely soil, it was the very breath of life, the stern master and generous provider for the peasant. Existence was inextricably linked to its rhythms, a dance as old as time itself. Every sunrise brought the promise of toil, every sunset the ache of honest labor. Their lives were a testament to endurance, a quiet symphony played out against the vast and different backdrop of nature. Let us gently step into their fields, feel the texture of their homes, and observe the subtle cadence of their days. The earth, in its silent wisdom, dictated the pace of their lives, a rhythm that resonated deep within their bones, connecting them to generations past and future. Imagine the dawn, not as a sudden burst of light, but as a slow, hesitant unfurling. The first pale streaks of gray paint the eastern sky, gradually pushing back the deep indigo of night. The air is crisp, carrying the scent of damp earth, wood smoke, and the faint, sweet aroma of dew-kissed grass. Inside the humble dwelling, the fire, banked low through the night, offers a soft, flickering glow. The family stirs, a quiet symphony of rustles and murmurs. There is no urgency, no jarring alarm. The body awakens naturally, attuned to the subtle shift in light and temperature. The first task is always the fire, coaxing the embers back to life, a small act of creation that brings warmth and the promise of a hot pottage. The gentle crackle of the rekindled flames would fill the small space, a comforting sound that spoke of warmth and sustenance, a quiet promise of the day to come. The air, still cool with the night's embrace, would gradually warm, carrying the scent of wood smoke and the faint aroma of simmering grains. The peasant's home, often a single room, was a microcosm of their world. Its walls, constructed from wattle and daub, a sturdy lattice of woven branches plastered with a mixture of mud, straw, and animal dung, offered a surprisingly effective barrier against the elements. The roof, a thick blanket of thatch, sloped gently, a natural insulator against both summer heat and winter cold. Though often leaky and perpetually in need of repair, it was a sanctuary, a place of shelter and shared warmth. The floor, simply packed earth, bore the marks of generations of footsteps, smoothed by daily life, occasionally strewn with fresh rushes for cleanliness and insulation. There were no grand windows. Perhaps just small, unglazed openings covered with wooden shutters, allowing in a sliver of light and the sounds of the waking world. The interior, though simple, was imbued with a sense of lived history, each worn surface and darkened beam telling a silent story of lives lived within its embrace. The air, though often smoky, held the comforting scent of human presence, of shared meals and quiet slumber. Within this single room, life unfolded. The hearth, a central stone or clay structure, was the heart of the home, providing warmth, light, and the means to cook. Smoke, rather than being channeled through a chimney, often found its way out through a hole in the roof or simply permeated the thatch, lending the interior a perpetually smoky aroma. Furniture was sparse and functional, a rough-hewn table, a few stools or benches, and perhaps a chest for storing precious belongings. Beds were simple wooden frames, often shared, filled with straw or feathers, providing a modest comfort after a day of arduous labor. Blankets, woven from coarse wool, were heavy and warm, a necessary defense against the pervasive chill. The flickering light of the fire would cast dancing shadows on the walls, creating a sense of intimacy and warmth, a gentle cocoon against the vast darkness outside. The sounds of the household, though muted, were a constant presence. The soft rustle of straw, the gentle creak of wood, the rhythmic breathing of sleeping bodies. Animals were often an integral part of the household, especially during the colder months. A cow might share a corner of the room, its gentle breathing adding to the warmth. Chickens might roost in a basket, their soft clucking a familiar background sound. This proximity, while perhaps unhygienic by modern standards, was a practical necessity, offering additional warmth and security. The sounds of the animals, the crackle of the fire, the quiet murmurs of sleeping family members. These constant companions of the medieval night. A comforting symphony of shared existence. The gentle lowing of the cow, the soft clucking of the chickens, the occasional snort of a pig. These were the natural sounds of a living home, a testament to the close bond between humans and the creatures that sustained them. The air, though sometimes heavy with the scent of animals, was also filled with the quiet warmth of shared life, a sense of interconnectedness that transcended species. As the sun climbed higher, the day's work began. For the men, this often meant the field. The land was divided into strips, each peasant family cultivating several scattered plots. This system, known as the open field system, was designed to ensure fairness, as each family had access to both good and less fertile land. The primary tools were simple yet effective: the heavy wooden plow, often pulled by oxen, turning the rich darker; the hoe for weeding and breaking up clods; the sickle for harvesting grain. The work was physically demanding, a constant battle against weeds, pests, and the unpredictable whims of the weather. Every furrow turned, every seed sown, every stalk harvested was an act of faith, a prayer for such. The rhythmic creak of the plow, the soft thud of the hoe, the gentle swish of the sickle, these were the sounds of their labor, a timeless melody played out against the vast expanse of the fields. The sun, a warm presence on their backs, would guide their efforts, marking the passage of the day with its slow, deliberate arc. Women's work, though often less visible, was equally vital. Their days were a continuous cycle of domestic tasks and agricultural support. They ground grain into flour, often by hand with a quern, a laborious process that turned hard kernels into the coarse meal for daily bread. They baked, spun wool into thread, wove cloth, and mended garments, their fingers nimble with needle and thread. They tended small kitchen gardens, cultivating herbs, vegetables, and fruit that supplemented the family's diet. They cared for children, nursed the sick, and prepared meals, their hands constantly engaged in the myriad tasks that kept the household running. The rhythm of their work was as constant and enduring as the turning of the seasons. The soft hum of the spinning wheel, the rhythmic thud of the mortar and pestle, the gentle murmur of lullabies, these were the sounds of women's labor, a quiet symphony of creation and care. Their hands, though often rough with toil, moved with a grace born of necessity, transforming raw materials into the very fabric of their lives. Children from a young age were integral to the family's labor. They were not merely playthings, but apprentices, learning the skills necessary for survival. Boys might help in the fields, leading the oxen or scaring away birds. Girls would assist their mothers with domestic chores, learning to spin, weave, and cook. Play was often intertwined with work, mimicking the tasks of adults, preparing them for the responsibilities that awaited them. Their laughter, though fleeting, was a precious sound, a reminder of the daily struggle. The dusty lanes of the village would often echo with the soft patter of their bare feet, their voices a gentle counterpoint to the more serious sounds of adult labor. Even in their play, there was a sense of purpose, a quiet preparation for the lives they would inherit. Meals were simple affairs, centered around the ever-present pottage, a thick, savory stew that simmered continuously over the hearth. Its ingredients varied with the season and the family's fortunes. Grains like barley or oats, root vegetables, wild herbs, and occasionally a precious scrap of meat or bone. Bread, dense and dark, made from coarser grains, was a staple, often used to scoop up the pottage. There were no elaborate recipes, no culinary refinements. Food was fuel, a means to sustain the body for the next day's labor. Yet in the shared warmth of the hearth, surrounded by family, these simple meals were also moments of connection, of quiet gratitude for another day's sustenance. The aroma of simmering pottage, a comforting blend of earthy vegetables and wood smoke, would fill the small home a promise of warmth and nourishment. The shared silence, broken only by the gentle clinking of wooden spoons against earthenware bowls, spoke of a deep contentment, a quiet appreciation for the simple act of being fed. Evenings were a time for rest, for quiet contemplation, and for the sharing of stories. As darkness deepened and the fire cast long, dancing shadows on the walls, families would gather. There were no books, no written words for most, so knowledge and entertainment were passed down through oral tradition. Tales of saints and sinners, of local legends and distant kings, of brave knights and mischievous fairies. These stories filled the quiet hours, weaving a rich tapestry of shared culture and belief. The rhythm of the storyteller's voice, the crackle of the fire, the gentle breathing of sleeping children, these were the sounds that accompanied the medieval night, a soothing prelude to the two-part sleep that awaited them. The flickering light of the fire would illuminate their faces, highlighting the quiet intensity of their shared attention, a timeless scene of human connection and the enduring power of narrative. The world outside would grow still, save for the distant hoot of an owl or the gentle rustle of leaves, a peaceful backdrop to their quiet communion. This daily rhythm, though seemingly monotonous, was imbued with a profound sense of purpose. Every action, from tending the fire to tilling the soil, was a direct contribution to survival. There was a deep intuitive understanding of their place in the natural world, a humility born from constant interaction with its power. The peasant's life was not one of grand ambitions, but of quiet persistence, a continuous act of making do, of finding sufficiency in scarcity, and of drawing strength from the enduring cycles of the earth. It was a life lived close to the bone, yet rich in its own unique way, a testament to the quiet dignity of human labor and the enduring power of community. As the day fades into night and the village settles into its slumber, let us carry this image of quiet resilience into our own moments of rest, finding peace in the simple, profound rhythms of existence. The quiet hum of the sleeping village, a symphony of gentle breaths and soft rustles, would settle over the land, a comforting blanket of peace. As the gentle rhythm of daily life settled over the medieval village, a deeper understanding of the challenges faced by its inhabitants begins to emerge. Their existence, though rooted in the earth, was perpetually shadowed by forces beyond their control. The caprice of nature, the invisible threat of disease, and the very tangible authority of their feudal lords. These were not mere inconveniences, but existential threats that shaped every decision, every prayer, every quiet hope. Let us now gently explore these shadows, not with alarm, but with a calm recognition of the profound resilience they demanded. These challenges, though formidable, were met with a quiet determination, a testament to the enduring human spirit. First, consider the ever-present specter of famine. For the medieval peasant, hunger was not an abstract concept, but a recurring visitor, sometimes a gnawing discomfort, at other times a devastating force. The success of a harvest was a delicate balance, dependent on factors as varied as the timely arrival of rains, the warmth of the sun, and the absence of destructive pests. A spring too wet could rot the seeds in the ground. A summer too dry could shrivel the ripening grain. A sudden hailstorm could flatten a field or a swarm of locusts could devour a season's labor in a single afternoon. These were not rare occurrences, but regular anxieties, woven into the fabric of their agricultural year. The threat of an empty granary was a constant companion, a silent worry that underscored every planting and every harvest. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken fear of scarcity, a subtle tension that permeated their lives. When the harvest failed, the consequences were immediate and severe. The communal granaries, often managed by the Lord Steward, would dwindle. The pottage, usually a hearty mix, would become thinner, its ingredients scarcer. Bread, the very staff of life, would be made from coarser, less nutritious grains, or worse, supplemented with desperate additions like ground bark or dried roots. The body, accustomed to relentless labor, would begin to weaken. Ribs would become more prominent, movement slower, the eyes holding a quiet, persistent hunger. Children, often the first to suffer, would grow silent, their usual boisterous energy replaced by a listless stillness. The village, usually alive with the sounds of daily activity, would fall into a hushed, almost reverent quiet, broken only by the occasional cough or the soft murmur of prayer. The vibrant hum of life would dim, replaced by a somber stillness, a collective holding of breath as they waited for the lean times to pass. The laughter of children, usually a constant presence, would become a rare and precious sound, replaced by the quiet murmurs of concern. During such times, the community's bonds were tested. Neighbors might share what little they had, a precious handful of beans or a small hard cheese, knowing that their own survival depended on the survival of the whole. Yet, desperation could also breed suspicion. The hidden sack of grain, the secret patch of wild herbs, the quiet hunt for small game. These acts of individual survival were understood, even if not openly discussed. Famine was a time of stark choices, of balancing the immediate need for sustenance against the long-term hope of a future harvest. Fuente de Cezanne said it was a period of profound vulnerability, where the line between life and death could be as thin as a single withered stalk of wheat. The quiet acts of generosity, often performed in secret, were a testament to the enduring human capacity for empathy, even in the face of overwhelming personal need. The shared hardship, though immense, often forged bonds of solidarity that transcended individual struggle. A quiet understanding that they were all in this together. Beyond the visible threat of hunger lay the invisible menace of disease. Long before the devastating arrival of the Black Death, medieval peasants lived in a world where sickness was a constant companion. Infection, fever, wasting illnesses, and persistent coughs were not isolated events, but an accepted part of the human condition. There was no understanding of germs, no knowledge of sanitation in the modern sense. Water sources could be contaminated, food could spoil quickly, and close living quarters facilitated the rapid spread of any ailment. A simple cut could fester, leading to a fatal infection. A common cold could descend into a deadly pneumonia. Even childhood illnesses, now easily treatable, were often fatal, claiming young lives with a chilling regularity. The air itself seemed to carry unseen threats, a constant reminder of the fragility of life. The quiet cough that began in one home could quickly spread through the entire village, a silent wave of illness that left a trail of suffering in its wake. When sickness struck, there were few remedies beyond traditional knowledge and fervent prayer. The village might have a wise woman, skilled in the use of local herbs and poultices, her knowledge passed down through generations. Perhaps a monk from a nearby monastery might offer some rudimentary medical advice, or a blessing. But for the most part, the sick were cared for within their own homes, nursed by family members who could do little more than offer comfort, warmth, and hope. The body's own resilience was the primary defense, and many succumbed, their passing marked by a quiet, somber ritual, a candle lit, a prayer whispered, and then the slow, inevitable return to the daily tasks of survival. The scent of medicinal herbs, mingled with the faint aroma of beeswax candles, would fill the air, a quiet testament to their efforts to alleviate suffering. The hushed whispers of prayer, a constant presence, offered solace in the face of the unknown. The Black Death, when it arrived in the mid-14th century, was a cataclysm that transcended all previous experience. It swept across Europe with terrifying speed and ferocity, leaving a trail of devastation unlike anything seen before. The buboes, the fever, the rapid decline of these symptoms were a horrifying new manifestation of an old enemy. Entire villages could be decimated in weeks, fields left untended, homes standing empty, their inhabitants vanished. The sheer scale of death was incomprehensible, shattering the established order and leaving a profound psychological impact. Yet, even in the face of such overwhelming tragedy, the peasants, those who survived, found ways to adapt. They learned to avoid the sick, to burn the possessions of the dead, to move away from infected areas. Their resilience, honed by generations of hardship, allowed them to endure even this unimaginable horror, to rebuild, and to continue the quiet work of living. The silence that descended upon once bustling villages was a chilling testament to the plague's devastating power, a quiet emptiness that spoke volumes of loss. Yet, amidst this desolation, the quiet hum of life, though diminished, persisted, a testament to the enduring human spirit. Finally, let us consider the omnipresent hand of the feudal lord. For the peasant, the Lord was not a distant mythical figure, but a very real and tangible authority whose decisions shaped every aspect of their lives. The land they tilled, the home they inhabited, even their very bodies, were, in a sense, not truly their own. They were bound to the land, often as serfs or villeins, unable to leave without permission, their lives governed by a complex web of obligations and duty. The Lord's manor, often a more substantial dwelling than their own, stood as a constant reminder of the hierarchical order, a silent symbol of power and authority. The very air seemed to carry the unspoken weight of their obligations, a subtle pressure that shaped their every action. These obligations were numerous and demanding. The most significant was labor service, known as corvée. For several days a week, and often more during peak seasons like harvest, the peasant was required to work the Lord's domain, his personal lands, before tending to their own small plots. This labor was unpaid, a direct contribution to the Lord's wealth, and a constant drain on the peasant's time and energy. Beyond labor, there were taxes, paid not in coin, which was scarce but in kind, a portion of their grain, a share of their livestock, eggs, wool, or whatever the land yielded. The Lord also controlled essential services such as the mill for grinding grain, or the oven or baking bread, charging fees for their use, further cementing his economic dominance. The rhythmic thud of the millstone, the crackle of the oven fire, these were the sounds of the Lord's control, a constant reminder of their economic dependence. The very sweat on their brows, the ache in their muscles, were a testament to the burdens they bore. Life under the Lord's authority was a delicate balance of submission and quiet resistance. Open rebellion was rare and often met with brutal suppression. The Lord commanded armed men, and his justice, though sometimes arbitrary, was swift and absolute. Yet peasants found subtle ways to assert their agency. They might work the Lord's fields with less enthusiasm than their own, or hide a portion of their harvest from the steward's watchful eye. They gossiped, they grumbled, they found solace in shared grievances, and they clung to ancient customs and traditions that offered a sense of identity beyond their feudal obligations. Their resistance was not a roar, but a persistent murmur, a quiet refusal to be entirely defined by their subservience. The quiet conversations in the village square, the shared glances of understanding, the subtle acts of defiance, these were the whispers of their enduring spirit, a testament to their quiet determination to maintain a sense of self amidst the constraints of their lives. In return for these myriad obligations, the Lord theoretically offered protection. He was responsible for defending his peasants from bandits, from rival lords, or from the ravages of war. He might also provide a measure of justice, settling disputes within the manor court. While this protection was often imperfect and sometimes came at a heavy cost, it was a fundamental aspect of the feudal contract, a fragile promise in a dangerous world. The relationship was not one of equality, but of mutual if unequal dependence. The Lord needed the peasant's labor to sustain his wealth and power, and the peasant, in turn, relied on the Lord for a semblance of order and security. The distant clatter of hooves, the occasional glimpse of armed men, these were the visible signs of the Lord's protective presence, a constant reminder of the precarious balance of their world. The quiet acceptance of their lot was often tempered by a pragmatic understanding of the benefits, however limited, that the feudal system provided. Thus, the medieval peasant navigated a world of profound uncertainty and constant demand. Famine, disease, and the Lord's authority were not abstract concepts but lived realities, shaping their daily existence. Yet within these constraints, they forged lives of remarkable resilience. They learned to read the subtle signs of the land, to understand the rhythms of their bodies, and to find strength in the bonds of community. Their story is a testament to the enduring human capacity to adapt, to endure, and to find meaning, even in the face of overwhelming odds. As the shadows of these challenges begin to recede, let us prepare to explore the quiet strength that allowed them not just to survive, but to build a lasting legacy through their unwavering spirit. The quiet hum of their perseverance, a timeless melody, continues to echo through the corridors of history, a testament to the enduring power of the human will. In a world defined by hardship and uncertainty, the medieval peasant found solace and strength in two profound forces: the tightly woven fabric of their local community and the omnipresent embrace of the church. These were not merely institutions, but living, breathing entities that shaped their worldview, provided a framework for their lives, and offered a sense of belonging that transcended individual struggle. Let us now gently explore these vital threads that bound their existence, offering both comfort and constraint. The very air of the village seemed to hum with the quiet energy of shared lives, a subtle current of interconnectedness that permeated every aspect of their existence. The village itself was the primary unit of social organization, a microcosm of shared lives and interdependent destinies. Imagine a cluster of humble dwellings, perhaps a dozen or two, for warmth and mutual protection. The boundaries between families were fluid, marked less by fences and more by shared labor and unspoken understanding. Every birth was a communal joy, every death a collective sorrow. The success of one family's harvest contributed to the well-being of all, and the failure of another's was a shared burden. This was a world where individualism, as we understand it today, was a foreign concept. Survival depended on cooperation, on the willingness to lend a hand, a tool, or a sympathetic ear. The quiet murmur of conversation, the shared laughter, the comforting presence of neighbors, these were the sounds of a community bound by necessity and affection. The very dust of the village lanes seemed to hold the echoes of countless shared moments. The fields often worked collectively under the open field system, brought men and women together in shared toil. The rhythm of plowing, sowing, and harvesting was a synchronized dance, punctuated by shared meals in the shade of a tree, or a quiet song carried on the wind. Women gathered at the communal well or stream, their conversations weaving a tapestry of local news, advice on child rearing, and shared anxieties about the harvest. Evenings might see families gathered around a neighbor's hearth, sharing stories, mending tools, or simply enjoying the quiet companionship that softened the edges of a hard day. The rhythmic swish of the scythes, the gentle rustle of grain, the quiet hum of shared labor, these were the sounds of their collective effort. A symphony of cooperation that ensured the survival of all. The scent of freshly turned earth, mingled with the aroma of shared food, created a sensory landscape of communal harmony. Disputes, though inevitable in such close quarters, were often resolved informally through the mediation of elders or the quiet pressure of community expectation. The goal was not necessarily abstract justice, but the restoration of harmony, the preservation of the delicate balance that ensured collective survival. A stolen chicken, a boundary dispute, a quarrel over a stray animal. These were matters that affected everyone, and their resolution was a communal responsibility. The unspoken rules of reciprocity and mutual aid were far more potent than any written law, for they were enforced by the very people one depended upon for daily existence. The quiet wisdom of the elders, their voices calm and measured, would guide the community towards resolution, a testament to the power of shared understanding and the desire for peace. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. Beyond the village, yet deeply intertwined with its life, stood the church. For the medieval peasant, the church was not a distant hierarchy, but a tangible presence, embodied in the local priest, the parish church, and the constant rhythm of bells that marked the hours and the season. It was the ultimate authority, explaining the mysteries of the universe, defining morality, and offering the promise of salvation in a world often filled with suffering. Its influence permeated every aspect of life, from birth to death, from the mundane to the miraculous. The spire of the church, often the tallest structure in the village, reached towards the heavens, a silent beacon of faith and hope. The very stones of its walls seemed to hum with the echoes of countless prayers, a testament to its enduring spiritual presence. The parish church, often the most substantial building in the village, served as more than just a place of worship. It was the center of community life, gathering place for news, announcements, and social interaction. Here, baptisms marked the arrival of new souls, marriages celebrated new unions, and funerals mourned the passing of loved ones. The churchyard was the final resting place for generations, a silent testament to the continuity of life and death within the community. Its bells ringing out across the fields with a village clock, marking the hours for prayer, work, and rest. The solemn toll of the bells, a comforting presence in the background of their lives, marked the passage of time and the sacred moments of their existence. The quiet reverence within its walls offered a sanctuary from the daily toil, a space for spiritual reflection and communal worship. The priest, often the only literate person in the village, held a unique position of authority and respect. He was not just a spiritual guide, but also a counselor, a record keeper, and a source of wisdom on matters both sacred and secular. Peasants brought their sins to him in confession, their ailments in search of blessings, and their disputes in hope of mediation. He interpreted the Latin scriptures, explained the lives of the saints, and offered comfort in times of distress. His sermons, delivered in the vernacular, were a primary source of information and moral instruction, shaping the beliefs and values of the community. His voice, often calm and reassuring, would fill the church with words of comfort and guidance, a steady presence in a world of uncertainty. The quiet murmur of his prayer, the gentle cadence of his blessings, these were the sounds of spiritual solace. The church also dictated the rhythm of the year, overlaying the agricultural calendar with its own cycle of feasts and fasts. Lent, Advent, Easter, Christmas, these holy days punctuated the year, offering periods of solemn reflection followed by joyous celebration. On fast days, meat was forbidden and meals were meager, a communal act of penance. On feast days, however, the community would gather for rare indulgences, perhaps a roasted fowl or a special ale, a brief respite from the daily grind. These rituals provided structure and meaning, transforming the passage of time into a sacred journey. The scent of incense, the soft glow of candles, the quiet murmur of communal prayer, these were the sensory details of their spiritual lives, a comforting presence that transcended the hardships of their earthly existence. The shared anticipation of feast days, the quiet solemnity of fasts, these were the rhythms of their faith, a constant presence that shaped their lives. But the church's influence was not solely spiritual, it was also economic. The tithe, a tax of 1/10 of all produce, was a significant burden on the peasants' meager resources. Grain, eggs, wool, livestock, a portion of everything they produced was owed to the church, collected by the priest or his representatives. This was often a source of quiet resentment, especially in times of scarcity, yet it was rarely openly defied. The fear of spiritual consequences, of excommunication or eternal damnation, was a powerful deterrent, ensuring compliance even when the earthly burden felt unbearable. The quiet grumbling, the subtle sighs of resignation. These were the unspoken responses to the economic demands of the church. Yet, even in their resentment, there was a deep-seated respect for the spiritual authority that the church represented, a quiet understanding of its essential role in their lives. Despite the burdens, the church offered profound comfort and hope. It provided a framework for understanding a world that often seemed chaotic and unpredictable. It explained suffering as a test, a path to salvation, offering the promise of a better life in the hereafter. The saints, with their specialized patronage, offered a tangible connection to the divine, a source of intercession for everything, from toothaches to successful harvests. Pilgrimages, though arduous, offered a rare opportunity for travel and spiritual renewal, a chance to step outside the confines of their village and connect with a wider world of faith. The quiet murmur of prayers, the soft glow of votive candles, the comforting presence of sacred images, these were the sources of their spiritual solace, a quiet strength that sustained them through the darkest of times. The shared hope of salvation, a gentle beacon in the distance, guided their steps through the trials of earthly life. In essence, the community and the church formed an intricate web of support and control. The community provided immediate, tangible aid and a sense of belonging, while the church offered spiritual guidance, moral order, and the promise of eternal salvation. Together, they helped the medieval peasant navigate a harsh existence, providing the social and spiritual scaffolding necessary for survival. They were the threads that bound their lives, offering both the comfort of shared experience and the constraint of established unity. As we reflect on these enduring forces, let us appreciate the quiet strength derived from belonging and the profound solace found in faith, even amidst the deepest challenges. This intricate dance between the earthly and the divine, the communal and the sacred, allowed them to persist, to find meaning, and to pass on a legacy of quiet endurance through generations. And as the day deepens into night, let these thoughts settle gently, guiding you towards a peaceful rest. The quiet hum of their collective faith, a timeless melody, continues to resonate through the corridors of history, a testament to the enduring power of belief. Having explored the daily rhythms and the formidable challenges faced by medieval peasants, we now turn our attention to the remarkable quality that allowed them not just to survive, but to persist through centuries of hardship. Their profound resilience and their innate capacity for adaptation. This was not a conscious strategy, but a way of being, deeply ingrained in their very existence. A quiet strength that allowed them to bend without breaking. Let us gently observe the subtle ways in which they mastered the art of enduring. The very air seemed to hum with the quiet energy of their perseverance, a subtle current that flowed through every aspect of their lives. Resilience, for the medieval peasant, was a multifaceted jewel, polished by the constant friction of necessity. It manifested not in grand gestures of defiance, but in the quiet, persistent acts of daily life. It was the unwavering commitment to planting seeds even after a devastating harvest, the patient mending of a leaky roof for the 10th time, the quiet acceptance of meager meal, and the unwavering belief that spring would always follow winter. This was a resilience born not of optimism, but of a deep, practical understanding of the cyclical nature of life, where hardship was not an end, but a recurring phase. The quiet determination in their eyes, the steady rhythm of their hands, These were the visible signs of their enduring spirit, a testament to their unwavering commitment to life. The very earth beneath their feet seemed to absorb their quiet strength, a silent witness to their unwavering resolve. Their adaptation was equally profound, a continuous process of learning and adjusting to the unpredictable whims of nature and the unyielding demands of their lords. They were masters of resourcefulness, making do with what little they had, wasting nothing, and finding ingenious uses for every scrap. A broken tool was not discarded but repaired, often with materials salvaged from other discarded items. Animal dung, seemingly waste, was a precious fertilizer for their fields. Wild herbs and plants, often overlooked by others, were a vital source of food and medicine. This was a culture of reuse and repurpose, driven by a scarcity that fostered innovation and a deep respect for every available resource. The quiet hum of their ingenuity, a subtle current of creativity, flowed through every aspect of their lives, transforming scarcity into sufficiency. The very air seemed to carry the unspoken wisdom of generations, a testament to their ability to thrive in challenging circumstances. They did not seek to conquer it, but to cooperate with it, understanding its moods and its limitation. They knew the subtle signs of impending weather, the best times for planting and harvesting, the nuances of different soil types. Their knowledge was empirical, passed down through generations, refined by countless observations and experiences. They adapted their farming practices to the local climate, cultivating crops that were hardy and reliable, even if not always the most abundant. This deep, intuitive understanding of their environment allowed them to maximize their chances of survival, even in the face of unpredictable conditions. The quiet rustle of the leaves, the gentle murmur of the stream, the subtle shift in the wind, these were the whispers of the land, a language they understood with an innate wisdom. Their hands, though calloused, moved with a gentle reverence, a testament to their profound respect for the earth that sustained them. Their social structures also demonstrated remarkable adaptability. The open field system, with its communal labor and shared resources, was a flexible framework that allowed for collective response to individual hardship. If a family fell ill, neighbors would step in to tend their fields. If a dwelling was damaged by storm, the community would rally to help rebuild. This mutual aid was not charity, but a pragmatic recognition that the strength of the whole depended on the well-being of each part. The village, though often isolated, was a self-sufficient unit capable of weathering many storms through its internal cohesion. The quiet hum of shared labor, the gentle murmur of communal support, these were the sounds of a community bound by necessity and affection. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. Even in their relationship with the feudal lord, there was a subtle art of adaptation. While direct rebellion was rare and dangerous, peasants developed a repertoire of quiet resistances. They might feign illness or work slowly on the lord's domain, subtly reducing their output without outright defiance. They might hide a portion of their harvest or engage in petty poaching, acts of quiet subversion that chipped away at the lord's authority without provoking open confrontation. These small acts of resistance were not about overthrowing the system, but about carving out small spaces of autonomy. of asserting their dignity in the face of overwhelming power. The quiet whispers of discontent, the subtle acts of non-compliance, these were the sounds of their enduring spirit, a testament to their quiet determination to maintain a sense of self amidst the constraints of their lives. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. Their spiritual life, too, was a source of profound. The church, as we have seen, offered a framework for understanding suffering, portraying it not as meaningless, but as a path to salvation. This theological perspective allowed peasants to endure immense hardship with a sense of purpose, believing that their trials in this life would be rewarded in the next. The saints provided a tangible connection to the divine, offering hope and intercession for every conceivable ailment or misfortune. The rituals of the church, the communal prayers, the shared feasts and fasts provided a sense of order and continuity in a chaotic world, a comforting rhythm that transcended the daily struggle. The quiet murmur of prayers, the soft glow of votive candles, the comforting presence of sacred images, these were the sources of their spiritual solace, a quiet strength that sustained them through the darkest of time. The shared hope of salvation, a gentle beacon in the distance, guided their steps through the trials of earthly life. Perhaps one of the most powerful forms of adaptation was their psychological resilience. They cultivated a pragmatic acceptance of their lot, a stoicism born of necessity. They did not dwell on what they lacked, but focused on what they had. Joy was found in small moments, a successful harvest, the birth of a healthy child, a warm fire on a cold night, the simple pleasure of a shared meal. Laughter, though perhaps less frequent than in our modern world, was a vital release, a way to lighten the burdens of existence. They lived in the present, deeply connected to the immediate realities of their lives, finding meaning and purpose in the continuous act of living. The quiet contentment in their eyes, the gentle smiles that occasionally graced their lips, these were the visible signs of their inner peace, a testament to their ability to find joy in simplicity. The very air seemed to hum with the quiet energy of their gratitude, a subtle current that flowed through every aspect of their lives. This quiet strength, this capacity for enduring, was passed down through generations, woven into the very fabric of their culture. Children learn not just the skills of farming and homemaking, but also the art of patience, the wisdom of observation, and the profound importance of community. They learn to find beauty in the mundane, to appreciate the simple gifts of nature, and to face adversity with a quiet, unyielding spirit. Their legacy is not found in grand monuments or written histories, but in the enduring human capacity to survive, to adapt, and to find meaning even in the most challenging circumstances. As we reflect on their remarkable resilience, let us consider how their quiet strength resonates even today. The ability to adapt, to make do, to find joy in simplicity, and to draw strength from community. These are timeless lessons, whispered across the centuries by those who live closest to the earth. Allow these thoughts to gently settle, like dust motes dancing in a sunbeam, guiding you towards a deep and peaceful rest. The art of enduring, quiet masterpiece continues to inspire long after the fields have been tilled and the fires have dimmed. In the quiet world of the medieval peasant, time was not a linear progression marked by precise hours and minutes, but a cyclical dance, intimately entwined with the rhythms of the earth. There were no mechanical clocks in the village, no urgent deadlines, yet their lives were governed by an ancient invisible timepiece dictated by the sun, the moon, and the subtle shifts of the seasons. Let us gently explore this profound relationship, observing how the land itself became their most reliable calendar and how their existence flowed with its timeless cadence. The very air seemed to hum with the quiet energy of their connection to the natural world, a subtle current that permeated every aspect of their lives. For the peasant, the land was more than just a source of sustenance. It was a living entity, a partner in their daily struggle. They knew its every mood, its every nuance. They understood the subtle language of the soil when it was ready to receive the seed, when it thirsted for rain, when it yearned for rest. Their hands, calloused and strong, were in constant communion with the earth, feeling its texture, understanding its needs. This intimate connection fostered a deep respect, a sense of belonging that transcended mere ownership. The land was not something to be exploited, but something to be nurtured, for its well-being was inextricably linked to their own. The quiet rustle of the leaves, the gentle murmur of the stream, the subtle shift in the wind, these were the whispers of the land, a language they understood with an innate wisdom. Their hands, though calloused, moved with a gentle reverence, a testament to their profound respect for the earth that sustained them. The agricultural year was the primary organizer of their lives, and a grand narrative divided into distinct chapters. Spring was a time of renewal and intense labor. As the last vestiges of winter melted away, revealing the softened earth, the fields came alive with activity. Plowing, a laborious process often involving oxen, broke the soil, preparing it for the new seeds. Sowing followed, a delicate dance of scattering precious grains, each seed a tiny prayer for a bountiful harvest. The air would be filled with the scent of freshly turned earth, the distant cries of birds and the quiet murmurs of hope, the rhythmic creak of the plow, the soft thud of the hoe, the gentle swish of the sickle. These were the sounds of their labor, a timeless melody played out against the vast expanse of the fields. The sun, a warm presence on their backs, would guide their efforts, marking the passage of the day with its slow, deliberate awe. Summer brought a different kind of work, a period of watchful waiting and diligent maintenance. The young crops, vulnerable to weeds and pests, required constant attention. Weeding, often done by hand, was a back-breaking task, performed under the relentless gaze of the sun. The days were long, stretching from dawn until dusk, filled with the hum of insects and the rustle of growing plants. It was a time of anxious anticipation, as the success of the entire year hinged on the health and vigor of the burgeoning fields. The scent of ripening grain would begin to fill the air, a sweet promise of future sustenance. The quiet hum of the bees, the gentle rustle of the ripening grain, the distant song of a lark, these were the sounds of summer, a symphony of growth and quiet anticipation. The sun, a golden orb, would hang high in the sky, its warmth a constant presence, nurturing the life within the fields. Autumn was the culmination, the season of harvest, a period of intense communal effort. The air would be filled with the rhythmic swish of sickles, the laughter of children gathering fallen ears, and the joyous shouts of a successful day's work. Every hand was needed, from the youngest child to the oldest elder, as the precious bounty of the fields was gathered, threshed, and stored. The Harvest Festival, a rare occasion for feasting and celebration, marked the end of this arduous period. a collective sigh of relief and gratitude for the earth's generosity. The scent of drying grain and wood smoke would hang heavy in the air, a comforting perfume of plenty. The quiet hum of shared labor, the gentle murmur of communal support, these were the sounds of a community bound by necessity and affection. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. Winter, though a time of relative rest, was also a period of quiet struggle. The fields lay fallow, covered in a blanket of snow or frozen earth. Work shifted indoors to mending tools, spinning wool, and preparing for the next cycle. The days were short, the nights long and cold, and the constant threat of hunger loomed. It was a time for storytelling, for mending clothes by the firelight, and for drawing strength from the warmth of family and community. The scent of wood smoke and stored provisions would fill the air, a reminder of the precious resources that sustained them through the lean months. The quiet crackle of the fire, the soft murmur of shared stories, the gentle breathing of sleeping children, these were the sounds of winter, a symphony of quiet endurance and shared warmth. The snow, a soft blanket, would cover the land, a silent promise of renewal to come. Beyond the agricultural year, time was also marked by the church. The ringing of the church bell, though perhaps distant, served as a communal clock, signaling the hours for prayer, for work, and for the liturgical calendar, with its feasts and fasts, its saints' days and holy seasons, provided another layer of temporal organization. Peasants might not have known the exact date, but they knew it was St. Michael's Day or close to Easter, or that it was a Friday and therefore a day for fish. This intertwining of natural and sacred rhythm created a deeply integrated sense of time, where every moment had its place and purpose. The solemn toll of the bells, a comforting presence in the background of their lives, marked the passage of time and the sacred moments of their existence. The quiet reverence within its walls offered a sanctuary from the daily toil, a space for spiritual reflection and communal worship. Even the daily cycle of light and darkness held a different meaning. There was no artificial light to extend the day, so life was lived in strict accordance with the sun's journey. Work began at dawn, paused for a midday meal, and ceased at dusk. The evenings were a time for quiet domestic tasks, for storytelling by the flickering firelight, and for the unique medieval sleep pattern known as biphasics. This involved a first sleep shortly after nightfall, followed by a period of waking, often around midnight for prayer, quiet reflection, or tending to the fire, before settling into a second sleep until dawn. This rhythm, born of necessity, allowed them to maximize their rest during the long, dark hours and to connect with a deeper, more ancient pattern of human existence. The quiet hum of the sleeping village, a symphony of gentle breaths and soft rustles, would settle over the land, a comforting blanket of peace. The moon, a silent sentinel, would cast its gentle light over the sleeping world, a timeless presence in their nocturnal rhythm. The peasant's relationship with time was thus one of profound acceptance. They did not fight against its passage, but flowed with it, understanding that patience was not merely a virtue, but a survival strategy. They learned to wait for the rains, to wait for the sun, to wait for the crops to ripen. They understood that some things could not be rushed, that nature had its own timetable, and that their role was to observe, to prepare, and to endure. This patient endurance, this quiet understanding of the earth's slow turning, was a cornerstone of their resilience. The quiet wisdom in their eyes, the steady rhythm of their hands, these were the visible signs of their enduring spirit, a testament to their unwavering commitment to life. The very earth beneath their feet seemed to absorb their quiet strength, a silent witness to their unwavering resolve. This deep connection to the land and its rhythms fostered a unique perspective on life. They were intimately aware of their dependence on the natural world, a humility that shaped their worldview. They saw the cycles of birth, growth, decay, and renewal reflected in the fields around them and in their own lives. Death was not an abstract concept, but a familiar presence, woven into the fabric of their existence, just as new life was a constant source of hope. This acceptance of life's inherent impermanence, coupled with a profound appreciation for its continuous renewal, allowed them to face each day with a quiet strength. The quiet hum of their gratitude, a subtle current that flowed through every aspect of their lives, transformed hardship into a profound appreciation for the simple act of being alive. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. As you drift deeper into rest, consider the unseen clocks that govern their work. The slow, steady turning of the seasons, the predictable arc of the sun, the gentle ebb and flow of the moon. These were the true masters of their time, dictating their labor, their meals, their rest, and their very outlook on. In a world without the relentless urgency of modern schedules, they found a different kind of freedom, a freedom rooted in harmony with the natural world. Their lives were a testament to the beauty of simplicity, the wisdom of patience, and the enduring power of living in tune with the earth. Let this ancient rhythm lull you as the whispers of their timeless existence guide you into a deep and peaceful slumber. In the medieval village, life and death were not distant concepts, but intimately woven threads in the tapestry of daily existence. They were present in the turning of the seasons, in the planting of the seed and the eventual harvest, in the birth of a lamb and the slaughter of a pig. For the peasant, the cycle was a visible, tangible reality, accepted with a quiet stoicism born of constant proximity. Let us now gently trace the contours of this profound cycle, observing how new life was welcomed and how death was met, not with fear, but with ritual and a deep sense of continuity. The very air seemed to hum with the quiet energy of their connection to the natural world, a subtle current that permeated every aspect of their lives. Life began, as it always has, with birth. In the humble peasant home, often a single room shared by many, the arrival of a new child was a moment of both joy and profound vulnerability. There were no hospitals, no trained doctors, only the experienced hands of a midwife, often an older woman from the village, whose knowledge of herbs and birthing techniques was passed down through generations. The birthing chamber, if one could call it that, was simply a corner of the main room, made as warm and private as possible. The air would be thick with anticipation, with the quiet murmurs of women, and eventually the first cries of a newborn. The quiet hum of anticipation, the soft whispers of encouragement, the gentle cries of the newborn, these were the sounds of new life, a symphony of hope and renewal. The air, though sometimes heavy with the scent of human presence, was also filled with the quiet warmth of shared life, a sense of interconnectedness that transcended species. infant mortality was tragically high. Many children did not survive their first year, succumbing to illnesses that modern medicine easily conquers. This harsh reality fostered a pragmatic approach to her life. While loved and cherished, a certain emotional distance might have been maintained until the child had passed the most perilous early months. Baptism, often performed quickly after birth, was a crucial ritual, ensuring the child's soul was saved, regardless of their earthly fate. The child was given a name, often a traditional one, connecting them to generations past and to the saints who would watch over them. The quiet solemnity of the baptismal rite, the gentle murmur of prayers, the soft touch of holy water, these were the sounds of spiritual protection, quiet promise of eternal. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. Topic: childhood, though brief by modern standards, was a period of rapid learning and integration into the family and community. From a very young age, children were not merely playthings, but active participants in the household economy. They learned by observation and imitation, mimicking the tasks of their elders. Boys would follow their fathers to the fields, learning to handle tools, to care for animals, and to understand the subtle language of the land. Girls would assist their mothers with domestic chores, learning to spin, weave, and cook. Play was often intertwined with work, a natural extension of their daily lives, preparing them for the responsibilities that awaited. Their laughter, though fleeting, was a precious sound, a reminder of the continuity of life amidst the daily struggle. The dusty lanes of the village would often echo with the soft patter of their bare feet, their voices a gentle counterpoint to the more serious sounds of adult labor. Even in their play, there was a sense of purpose, a quiet preparation for the lives they would inherit. Marriage for the medieval peasant was less about romantic love and more about practical alliance. It was a union of families, a means of securing labor, land, and continuity. Marriages were often arranged or at least heavily influenced by parents and community elders, with an eye towards economic stability and social harmony. The wedding ceremony, often held in the church, was a communal celebration, a rare occasion for feasting, music, and dancing. It marked the transition of individuals into a new social unit, a new thread woven into the fabric of the village. The quiet hum of celebration, the gentle strains of music, the soft murmur of well wishes, these were the sounds of communal joy, a symphony of shared happiness. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. Adulthood brought with it the full weight of responsibility, the relentless cycle of agricultural labor, the raising of children, and the constant struggle for sustenance. Life expectancy was significantly lower than today, often in the range of 30-40 years, though those who survived childhood diseases and the perils of famine could live into old age. The body, hardened by years of physical toil, would begin to show the signs of wear and tear, aching joints, stooped backs, and faces weathered by sun and wind. Yet old age, if reached, brought with it a certain respect and wisdom, the elders serving as repositories of knowledge and tradition, their experiences a living library for the community. The quiet dignity in their eyes, the gentle wisdom in their voices, these were the visible signs of a life well lived, a testament to their enduring spirit. The very air seemed to hum with the quiet energy of their accumulated wisdom, a subtle current that flowed through every aspect of their lives. And then inevitably came death. Death was a familiar presence in the medieval village, not hidden away in sterile institutions, but occurring within the home, surrounded by family and neighbors. When someone fell ill, the community rallied, offering prayers, herbal remedies, and quiet comfort. As death approached, the priest would be summoned, administering the last rites, offering spiritual solace, and preparing the soul for its journey. The air would be thick with the scent of beeswax candles, the murmur of prayers, and the quiet grief of those left behind. The quiet whispers of comfort, the soft murmur of prayers, the gentle touch of a comforting hand. These were the sounds of their shared humanity, a symphony of empathy and solace. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. The funeral was a communal affair, a solemn procession to the churchyard, where the deceased would be laid to rest in consecrated ground. The grave would be shallow, dug by neighbors, and the coffin, if one was used, simple. The ringing of the church bell, a slow, mournful toll, would announce the passing to the wider community, a sound that resonated with both sorrow and a deep sense of shared humanity. The burial itself was a stark reminder of their connection to the earth. The body returned to the soil from which it had come, completing the cycle. After the burial, a wake might be held, a gathering of family and friends to share food, drink, and stories of the deceased. A way to celebrate the life that had been lived and to offer comfort to the bereaved. The quiet solemnity of the procession, the gentle murmur of shared grief, the comforting presence of neighbors. These were the sounds of their collective mourning, a testament to the enduring bonds of community. The very earth seemed to absorb their quiet sorrow, a silent witness to their shared humanity. The church played a pivotal role in shaping attitudes towards. It offered a clear framework for understanding the afterlife, with heaven, hell, and purgatory. Peasants were taught that their earthly suffering, if endured with piety, would lead to eternal reward. Prayers for the dead were crucial, believed to shorten a soul's time in purgatory and hasten its journey to heaven. This belief fostered a strong sense of continuity between the living and the dead, with family and community members continuing to offer spiritual support even after physical separation. The quiet murmur of prayers, the soft glow of votive candles, the comforting presence of sacred images, these were the sources of their spiritual solace, a quiet strength that sustained them through the darkest of time. The shared hope of salvation, a gentle beacon in the distance, guided their steps through the trials of earthly life. Death was not seen as an end, but as a transition, a passage to another state of being. This acceptance, while perhaps difficult for us to fully grasp in our modern context, was a pragmatic necessity when life was so fragile and death so common. A constant state of fear would have been debilitating. Instead, they cultivated a profound understanding of life's impermanence, finding solace in the rituals, in the promise of salvation, and in the enduring bonds of community that transcended even the grave. The quiet dignity in their eyes, the gentle wisdom in their voices, these were the visible signs of a life well lived, a testament to their enduring spirit. The very air seemed to hum with the quiet energy of their accumulated wisdom. a subtle current that flowed through every aspect of their lives. Even the landscape itself bore witness to this cycle. The churchyard, with its ancient gravestones, was a constant reminder of those who had come before, their lives intertwined with the land they had tilled. The trees, shedding their leaves in autumn and bursting forth with new life in spring, mirrored the human experience. The fields, lying fallow in winter and blossoming with grain in summer, spoke of renewal and the promise of future harvest. Everything in their world reinforced the idea that life was a continuous flow, a grand, unfolding narrative where endings were merely beginnings in disguise. The quiet rustle of the leaves, the gentle murmur of the stream, the subtle shift in the wind, these were the whispers of the land, a language they understood with an innate wisdom. Their hands, though calloused, moved with a gentle reverence, a testament to their profound respect for the earth that sustained them. This deep, almost visceral understanding of the cycle of life and death fostered a unique perspective on existence. It was a life lived with an acute awareness of its fragility, yet also with a profound appreciation for its continuous renewal. They celebrated new life with joy, mourned the departed with solemnity, and accepted the inevitable with a quiet dignity. Their lives, though seemingly small in the grand sweep of history, were rich with meaning, imbued with the wisdom of generations who had lived and died on the same patch of earth. As you settle deeper into your own quiet space, let the gentle rhythm of this ancient cycle, the ebb and flow of life and death, lull you into a profound and peaceful rest. The whispers of their enduring spirit, a testament to the timeless dance of existence, will guide you through the night. In the quiet narrative of medieval peasant life, while the men often toiled visibly in the fields, the strength and continuity of the community rested equally, if not more so, on the tireless efforts of women and the early integration of children into the rhythm of survival. Their contributions, though often overlooked in grand historical accounts, were the very warp and weft of daily existence, ensuring the hearth remained warm, the family fed, and the traditions passed down. Let us now gently illuminate their essential roles, recognizing the profound dignity and labor that shaped their days. The very air seemed to hum with the quiet energy of their tireless efforts, a subtle current that permeated every aspect of their lives. For medieval peasant women, life was a continuous, multifaceted tapestry of labor, responsibility, and nurturing. Their domain was not confined to the home, but extended seamlessly into the fields and the wider village economy. The term housewife in this context encompassed a vast array of skills and duties that would astonish modern sensibilities. Her day began before dawn, often with the rekindling of the fire, the preparation of the morning pottage, and the milking of any household animals. Her hands were rarely idle, moving with practiced efficiency from one task to the next. The quiet hum of her daily tasks, the gentle rustle of her movements, the soft murmur of her voice, these were the sounds of a life lived with purpose, a symphony of quiet dedication. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. Within the home, she was the primary manager of resources. This meant not only cooking and cleaning, but also preserving food, drying herbs, salting meat, making cheese and butter from milk. She was the family's baker, grinding grain with a hand quern, a laborious and time-consuming task. and then kneading and baking the dense dark bread that was the staple of every meal. She was also the family's tailor and weaver, transforming raw wool into thread through spinning, and then weaving that thread into coarse cloth for garments. Mending, patching, and making new clothes for the entire family were constant demands, requiring skill and patience. The rhythmic thud of the quern, the soft hum of the spinning wheel, the gentle rustle of cloth, these were the sounds of her domestic labor, a quiet symphony of creation and care. The scent of freshly baked bread, mingled with the earthy aroma of herbs, created a sensory landscape of domestic harmony. Beyond the domestic sphere, women were vital contributors to agricultural labor. While men often handled the heavy plowing, women participated in nearly every other aspect of field work. They sowed seeds, weeded crops, and were indispensable during the intense period of harvest, often working alongside men, binding sheaves and gathering the precious grain. They also tended the small kitchen gardens near the home, cultivating vegetables, herbs, and sometimes fruit, which provided crucial dietary supplements and medicinal remedies. The knowledge of these plants, their properties, and their uses was often passed down from mother to daughter, a vital oral tradition. The quiet hum of shared labor, the gentle murmur of communal support, these were the sounds of a community bound by necessity and affection. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. Childbearing and child-rearing were central to a woman's life, though fraught with peril. Childbirth often occurred in the home, assisted by a village midwife, and both mother and infant faced significant risks. The high rates of infant and child mortality meant that a woman might bear many children, only for a few to survive to adulthood. Yet, despite the sorrow of loss, the continuity of the family line was paramount, and each new birth was a source of hope and renewal for the community. Women were also the primary educators of young children, imparting not only practical skills but also moral values, religious teachings, and the rich tapestry of local folklore and traditions. The quiet hum of lullabies, the soft murmur of comforting words, the gentle touch of a mother's hand, these were the sounds of nurturing, a symphony of love and care. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. Children, far from being a separate demographic, were integrated into the adult world from a very age. There was no concept of a prolonged, protected childhood as we understand it today. From the moment they could walk, children were expected to contribute to the household economy, their tasks gradually increasing in complexity and responsibility as they grew. This early immersion was not seen as a burden, but as a natural process of learning and becoming a productive member of the family and community. The quiet patter of their bare feet, the soft murmur of their voices, the gentle rustle of their movements, these were the sounds of childhood, a symphony of innocence and quiet purpose. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. Young children might be tasked with simple chores, gathering firewood, fetching water from the well, tending to younger siblings, or scaring birds away from newly sown fields. As they grew older, boys would begin to learn the skills of farming, accompanying their fathers to the fields, assisting with plowing, sowing, and harvesting. They would learn to handle tools, to care for livestock, and to understand the subtle nuances of the land and the weather. Their play often mimicked adult activities, a natural form of apprenticeship. The quiet hum of their play, the gentle rustle of their movements, the soft murmur of their voices, these were the sounds of childhood. A symphony of innocence and quiet purpose. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. Girls, similarly, would learn the vast array of domestic and agricultural skills from their mothers and older female relatives. They would learn to spin, weave, cook, clean, and care for the household. They would also be taught about the medicinal properties of herbs, the art of food preservation, and the intricate social dynamics of the village. Their education was practical and experiential, preparing them for their future roles as wives, mothers, and essential contributors to the family's survival. The quiet hum of their domestic tasks, the gentle rustle of their movements, the soft murmur of their voices. These were the sounds of their apprenticeship, a symphony of learning and quiet dedication. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. Despite the early onset of labor, childhood was not without its moments of joy. Children found ways to amuse themselves with simple toys crafted from natural materials, with games of chase and hide and seek in the fields, and with the universal delight of storytelling. Their laughter, though fleeting, was a precious sound, a reminder of the enduring spirit of youth, even amidst hardship. These early experiences fostered a deep sense of responsibility, resilience, and community, shaping them into the adults who would continue the cycle of life. The quiet hum of their play, the gentle rustle of their movements, the soft murmur of their voices, these were the sounds of childhood, a symphony of innocence and quiet purpose. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. The roles of women and children, therefore, were not secondary, but foundational to the survival and flourishing of the medieval peasant community. Women were the unsung pillars, their labor and nurturing, ensuring the daily sustenance and continuity of the family. Children were the future, their early integration into work, instilling the skills and values necessary for the next generation to endure. Their lives, though often arduous, were imbued with a profound sense of purpose and interdependence, a quiet testament to the strength found in collective effort and the enduring power of the family unit. As you reflect on these essential contributions, allow the quiet dignity of their lives to settle over you, guiding you towards a deep and peaceful rest. The whispers of their tireless efforts, a timeless lullaby, will accompany you through the night. In the medieval peasant's world, the tangible realities of field and hearth were constantly intertwined with an unseen realm, a vibrant tapestry of beliefs, superstitions, and ancient folklore. This was a world where the sacred and the mundane coexisted, where the rustle of leaves might be a whispered warning, and a sudden illness, a sign of unseen forces at play. These beliefs, often a blend of Christian doctrine and pre-Christian traditions, provided a framework for understanding the unpredictable, offering both comfort and a pervasive sense of caution. Let us gently explore this rich inner landscape, where the spiritual and the magical shape their daily lives. The very air seemed to hum with the quiet energy of their beliefs, a subtle current that permeated every aspect of their lives. At the heart of their spiritual world was, of course, the church. As we have seen, its teachings provided the overarching narrative of salvation, sin, and the afterlife. The saints were not distant figures, but tangible intercessors, each with a specific patron. Peasants would pray to Saint Anthony for lost items, Saint Sebastian for protection against plague, or Saint Isidore for a bountiful harvest. Their images, often crudely carved or painted, adorned the local church and sometimes even their homes, serving as constant reminders of the divine presence in their lives. Relics, fragments of saints' bones or possessions, were revered as powerful conduits of divine grace, capable of healing or offering protection. The quiet murmur of prayers, the soft glow of votive candles, the comforting presence of sacred images, these were the sources of their spiritual solace, quiet strength that sustained them through the darkest of times. The shared hope of salvation, a gentle beacon in the distance, guided their steps through the trials of earthly life. Yet, alongside Orthodox Christian belief, a rich substratum of older, more localized superstitions and folk practices thrived. These were often rooted in a deep connection to the natural world and a pragmatic need to explain phenomena that defied simple understanding. The forest, for instance, was not just a source of wood and game, but a place of mystery, inhabited by spirits, fairies, and sometimes more sinister beings. Certain trees were considered sacred, certain springs held healing powers, and specific crossroads were believed to be places where the veil between worlds is thin. The quiet rustle of the leaves, the gentle murmur of the stream, the subtle shift in the wind, these were the whispers of the unseen, a language they understood with an innate wisdom. Their hands, though calloused, moved with a gentle reverence, a testament to their profound respect for the earth that sustained them, whether a constant preoccupation for an agrarian society was often attributed to divine will or the actions of unseen entities. A sudden storm might be a sign of God's displeasure, or perhaps the work of a mischievous sprite. Charms and rituals were employed to influence the weather. Prayers for rain during a drought, or protective blessings against hail. Farmers might bury specific objects in their fields, or perform ancient rites at the turning of the seasons, hoping to ensure a good harvest. The quiet hum of their prayers, the gentle rustle of their movements, the soft murmur of their voices, these were the sounds of their efforts to influence the natural world, a symphony of hope and quiet determination. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. Illness, as we discussed, was rarely understood in purely biological terms. While some remedies involved herbs and poultices, many believed sickness was caused by the evil eye, a curse, or the malevolent influence of witches. To ward off such misfortunes, peasants employed a variety of protective measures. Hanging garlic above doors, placing iron objects near thresholds, or wearing amulets inscribed with protective symbols. Certain days of the week were considered unlucky for starting new ventures, and specific actions, like spilling salt or breaking a mirror, were believed to bring misfortune. The quiet hum of their incantations, the gentle rustle of their movements, the soft murmur of their voices, these were the sounds of their efforts to ward off evil, a symphony of fear and quiet determination. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. Animals, too, held a special place in their belief system. Some, like the owl, were seen as harbingers of ill omen, their calls signaling impending death. Others, like the robin, were considered symbols of good luck. The behavior of livestock was often interpreted as a sign of future events. A cow refusing to give milk might indicate a curse, or a flock of birds flying in a certain direction might foretell a change in weather. This close observation of the natural world, combined with the desire to find meaning in every occurrence, led to a complex web of animal-related superstitions. The quiet hoot of the owl, the gentle chirping of the robin, the soft lowing of the cow, these were the sounds of the animal world, a language they understood with an innate wisdom. Their hands, though calloused, moved with a gentle reverence, a testament to their profound respect for the earth that sustained them. Dreams were also considered significant, not merely as products of the sleeping mind, but as messages from the divine or the unseen world. A dream of a bountiful harvest might be interpreted as a positive omen, while a dream of a broken tooth could signify impending death. Dream interpreters, often wise women or elders, were consulted to decipher these nocturnal messages, offering guidance or warnings for the waking world. The church, while acknowledging the spiritual significance of dreams, often warned against those believed to be sent by the devil, urging vigilance and prayer. The quiet murmur of their interpretation, the soft glow of the firelight, the comforting presence of shared understanding, these were the sounds of their efforts to decipher the unseen, a symphony of hope and quiet determination. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. Magic, both white and black, was a pervasive concept. White magic, often practiced by cunning folk or village healers, involved charms, blessings, and herbal remedies aimed at protection, healing, or good fortune. Black magic, associated with witches and sorcerers, was feared for its destructive potential, believed to cause illness, crop failure, or personal misfortune. The fear of witchcraft, though often fueled by ignorance and social anxieties, was a very real and terrifying aspect of their lives, leading to suspicion and sometimes tragic accusation. The quiet hum of their incantations, the gentle rustle of their movements, the soft murmur of their voices, these were the sounds of their efforts to ward off evil, a symphony of fear and quiet determination. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. Rituals and traditions marked every significant life. From birth, with its protective charms and quick baptism, to marriage, with its specific customs and blessings, to death, with its solemn rites and prayers for the departed. Every transition was accompanied by a series of prescribed actions designed to ensure spiritual well-being and social harmony. These rituals, passed down through generations, provided a sense of order and meaning in a world that could often feel chaotic and unpredictable. The quiet solemnity of their rituals, the gentle murmur of their prayers, the comforting presence of shared belief, these were the sounds of their spiritual lives, a symphony of hope and quiet determination. determination. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. This rich tapestry of beliefs and superstitions was not a sign of ignorance, but a sophisticated attempt to make sense of their world. It provided comfort in the face of the unknown, offered a sense of control over forces beyond their direct influence, and reinforced the bonds of community through shared understanding and practice. It was a world where every object, every event, every creature held a potential meaning, a whisper from the unseen. And in this constant dialogue with the spiritual and the magical, the medieval peasant found a deeper connection to their existence, a profound sense of belonging within a universe far grander than their humble village. As you drift deeper into the quiet embrace of sleep, allow these ancient beliefs to settle gently in your mind. The unseen world, with its whispers and its wonders, continues to exist in the quiet corners of our imagination. Let the echoes of their faith and their fears become a soothing presence, guiding you towards a night of peaceful dreams. The wisdom of their connection to the mystical, a timeless lullaby, will accompany you through the... We have touched upon the pervasive presence of sickness in the medieval world, a constant shadow in the lives of peasants. Yet, there was one calamity that transcended all others, a force of nature so profound that it reshaped the very fabric of society and left an indelible mark on the collective memory: the Black Death. Its arrival in the mid-14th century was not merely an epidemic. It was a demographic earthquake, a silent, invisible wave that swept across continents, leaving desolation in its wake. Let us now, with a gentle and reflective tone, consider the profound impact of this great pestilence and the subtle yet significant changes it brought to the lives of those who survived. The very air seemed to hum with the quiet energy of their resilience, a subtle current that permeated every aspect of their lives. Before the Black Death, the medieval world was, in many ways, overpopulated. Villages were dense, land was scarce, and labor was abundant. The feudal system, with its rigid hierarchy and obligations, was firmly entrenched. Then, the plague arrived, carried by fleas on rats, and then, more terrifyingly, spread from person through the air. Its symptoms were horrifying: swollen lymph nodes, known as buboes, in the groin, armpits, and neck, high fever, chills, and often a rapid, agonizing death. The speed of its progression was terrifying. A person could be healthy in the morning and dead by nightfall. The quiet hum of daily life was replaced by a chilling silence, a testament to the plague's devastating power. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken fear of contagion, a subtle tension that permeated their lives. The initial impact was one of overwhelming loss. Entire families vanished, their homes standing empty, their fields left untended. The familiar sounds of the village, the laughter of children, the lowing of cattle, the rhythmic clang of the blacksmith's hammer were replaced by an eerie silence, broken only by the mournful tolling of church bells, ringing almost continuously for the dead. The sheer scale of mortality was unprecedented, estimated to have wiped out between 30% and 50% of Europe's population, and in some regions even more. For the peasant who lived in close proximity to their animals and their neighbors, the risk of infection was constant, and the sight of death became a daily reality. The quiet sorrow in their eyes, the gentle tears that occasionally fell, these were the visible signs of their profound grief, a testament to their enduring spirit. The very earth beneath their feet seemed to absorb their quiet sorrow, a silent witness to their shared humanity. Life for those who survived was irrevocably altered. The immediate aftermath was chaotic. With so many dead, the traditional rhythms of planting and harvesting were disrupted. Fields lay fallow, crops rotted in the ground, and livestock wandered untended. The social order, once so rigid, began to fray. The authority of the Lord, while still present, was challenged by the sheer absence of labor. Who would work the land if there were no hands to till it? Who would pay the taxes if there were no peasants left to produce the goods? The quiet hum of daily life was replaced by a chilling silence, a testament to the plague's devastating power. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken fear of contagion, a subtle tension that permeated their lives. In the long term, however, the Black Death, despite its horror, brought about unexpected and profound changes that, for the surviving peasants, were often beneficial. The most significant of these was the dramatic shift in the balance of power between lords and laborers. With the population drastically reduced, labor became a scarce and valuable commodity. Suddenly, the surviving peasants found themselves in a position of unprecedented bargaining power. Lords, desperate to find workers for their fields, were forced to offer better terms, higher wages, and even, in some cases, greater freedoms. The quiet hum of their newfound leverage, a subtle current of empowerment, flowed through every aspect of their lives, transforming scarcity into sufficiency. The very air seemed to carry the unspoken wisdom of generations, a testament to their ability to thrive in challenging circumstances. This newfound leverage manifested in several ways. Some peasants were able to negotiate for lower rents or a reduction in their labor services. Others, particularly those who had been tied to the land as serfs, found opportunities to escape their bondage, either by fleeing to towns where labor was in high demand, or by negotiating their freedom in exchange for a fixed rent. The traditional feudal system, which had relied on an abundance of cheap labor, began to crumble under the weight of demographic change. While not an overnight revolution, it was a slow, persistent erosion of the lordly, absolute authority. The quiet whispers of discontent, the subtle acts of non-compliance. These were the sounds of their enduring spirit, a testament to their quiet determination to maintain a sense of self amidst the constraints of their lives. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. The economic landscape also shifted. With fewer mouths to feed and more land available, the surviving peasants often had access to better diet. Meat, once a rare luxury, became more accessible. The demand for agricultural products remained, but the supply of labor to produce them had shrunk, leading to an increase in the value of their produce. This economic improvement, though hard-won through immense suffering, contributed to a gradual rise in the standard of living for many peasant families. The quiet hum of their gratitude, a subtle current that flowed through every aspect of their lives, transformed hardship into a profound appreciation for the simple act of being fed. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. Beyond the economic and social changes, the Black Death also had a profound psychological and spiritual impact. The sheer scale of death led to a questioning of traditional beliefs and authorities. Why had God allowed such a catastrophe? Why had the church, with all its prayers and rituals, been unable to stop the plague? While faith remained strong for many, there was also a growing sense of skepticism, a quiet questioning of the established order. This questioning, though rarely articulated openly, contributed to a subtle shift in worldview, a greater emphasis on earthly life, and a more pragmatic approach to survival. The quiet murmur of their doubts, the soft glow of their questioning minds, the comforting presence of shared uncertainty. These were the sounds of their spiritual awakening, a symphony of hope and quiet determination. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. The experience of the plague also fostered a deeper sense of community and mutual aid among the survivors. Having faced such an overwhelming threat together, the bonds between neighbors were often strengthened. They learned to rely on each other, to share resources, and to support those who had lost loved ones. The quiet resilience that had always characterized peasant life was amplified, becoming a collective determination to rebuild and to endure, no matter the cost. The quiet hum of shared labor, the gentle murmur of communal support, these were the sounds of a community bound by necessity and affection. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflict. Thus, the Black Death, a period of unimaginable suffering, paradoxically became a catalyst for change, subtly altering the trajectory of medieval society. For the surviving peasants, it brought both immense sorrow and unforeseen opportunity. It was a stark reminder of life's fragility, yet also a testament to the enduring human capacity to adapt, to rebuild, and to find new paths forward, even in the wake of profound devastation. The echoes of this catastrophe, though distant, continue to resonate, reminding us of the quiet strength that emerges when humanity faces its greatest trials. The quiet hum of their perseverance, a timeless melody, continues to echo through the corridors of history, a testament to the enduring power of the human will. As our gentle journey through the medieval peasant world draws to a close, let us reflect on the enduring legacy of their lives. Despite the relentless challenges of famine, plague, and the authority of lords, peasant life, in its fundamental rhythms, persisted for centuries. It was a testament not to a lack of change, but to a profound capacity for adaptation and a quiet, unyielding determination to survive. Their story is not just a chapter in history. It is a foundational narrative of human resilience, a quiet symphony of endurance that continues to resonate through time. Let us now consider the ways in which their way of life, though seemingly simple, laid the groundwork for much that came after. The very air seemed to hum with the quiet energy of their enduring spirit, a subtle current that permeated every aspect of their lives. The most immediate and visible legacy of the medieval peasant was the land itself. For generations, their hands shaped the landscape, turning wild forests into arable fields, draining marshes, and building the very infrastructure of rural life. The hedgerows that still crisscross the European countryside, the ancient paths that wind through fields, the very layout of many villages, these are direct echoes of their labor. They were the original landscape architects, working not with grand designs, but with the pragmatic needs of daily sustenance. Their intimate knowledge of the soil, passed down through countless generations, ensured the continuity of agriculture, providing the food base upon which all other societal structures were built. The quiet hum of their labor, the gentle rustle of the leaves, the soft murmur of the stream, these were the sounds of their enduring legacy, a symphony of quiet dedication. The very earth beneath their feet seemed to absorb their quiet strength, a silent witness to their unwavering resolve. Beyond the physical landscape, the peasant way of life fostered a deep-seated culture of community and mutual aid. In a world without formal social safety nets, the village itself was the primary support system. The unwritten rules of reciprocity, the shared labor, the collective celebrations and sorrows, these forged bonds that transcended individual hardship. This emphasis on community, on the understanding that collective survival depended on individual contribution, laid the groundwork for many of the social structures that would evolve in later centuries. The spirit of cooperation, born of necessity, became a defining characteristic of rural life, a quiet counterpoint to the hierarchical structures of feudalism. The quiet hum of shared labor, the gentle murmur of communal support, these were the sounds of a community bound by necessity and affection. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. Their relationship with time, dictated by the natural world rather than artificial constructs, also left an enduring mark. The cyclical nature of their existence, the profound understanding of seasons, planting and harvest, instilled a patience and a long-term perspective that is often lost in our fast-paced modern world. They understood that some things cannot be rushed, that growth takes time, and that true abundance is a result of diligent effort and patient waiting. This wisdom, though rarely articulated in written form, was woven into the very fabric of their daily lives, a silent lesson passed down through the generations. The quiet wisdom in their eyes, the steady rhythm of their hands, these were the visible signs of their enduring spirit, a testament to their unwavering commitment to life. The very earth beneath their feet seemed to absorb their quiet strength, a silent witness of their unwavering resolve. The peasants' resilience in the face of adversity is perhaps their most powerful legacy. They endured famines that decimated populations, plagues that swept away loved ones, and the constant burden of taxation and labor. Yet, they did not succumb to despair. Instead, they found ways to adapt, to innovate, and to find moments of joy amidst hardship. Their quiet determination, their ability to make do with little, and their unwavering commitment to life, even in its most challenging forms, serves as a timeless testament to the strength of the human spirit. This enduring capacity to bounce back, to rebuild, and to find hope in the darkest of times is a lesson that transcends any historical period. The quiet hum of their perseverance, a timeless melody, continues to echo through the corridors of history, a testament to the enduring power of the human will. Furthermore, the peasants' subtle forms of resistance, their quiet acts of defiance against the Lord's authority, foreshadowed later movements for social justice. While they rarely engaged in overt rebellion, their everyday acts of subversion, the hidden grain, the slow work, the shared grievances were a continuous, if understated, challenge to the established order. These small acts of agency, born of a desire for dignity and autonomy, laid the psychological groundwork for future generations to demand greater rights and freedoms. The seeds of change, though slow to germinate, were often sown in the quiet fields of peasant resistance, the quiet whispers of discontent, the subtle acts of non-compliance. These were the sounds of their enduring spirit, a testament to their quiet determination to maintain a sense of self amidst the constraints of their lives. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflict. Even their beliefs and superstitions, a rich blend of Christian doctrine and ancient folklore, contributed to a unique cultural tapestry. The saints, the ritual, the folk remedies, the stories told by the firelight, these elements created a vibrant inner world that provided meaning and comfort in an often harsh reality. This rich oral tradition, passed down from generation to generation, preserved a wealth of knowledge about the natural world, about human nature, and about the enduring mysteries of existence. It was a culture that valued wisdom over literacy and communal memory over written records. The quiet hum of their incantations, the gentle rustle of their movements, the soft murmur of their voices, these were the sounds of their efforts to ward off evil, a symphony of fear and quiet determination. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. In essence, the medieval peasant, though often relegated to the footnotes of history, was the bedrock upon which medieval society was built. They were the silent majority, the hands that fed the kings, built the cathedrals, and sustained the armies. Their lives, though seemingly simple, were complex tapestries of labor, community, faith, and resilience. They were not merely victims of circumstance, but active agents in their own survival, shaping their world even as it shaped them. The quiet hum of their daily lives, the symphony of gentle breaths and soft rustles, would settle over the land, a comforting blanket of peace. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. As we conclude our journey, let us carry with us the quiet wisdom of the medieval peasant. Their lives remind us of the profound connection between humanity and the earth, the enduring strength of community, the timeless rhythm of nature, and the remarkable capacity of the human spirit to find hope and meaning even in the face of overwhelming adversity. Their legacy is not one of grand achievements, but of quiet persistence, a testament to the power of simply enduring day after day, season after season, century after century. The quiet hum of their perseverance, a timeless melody, continues to echo through the corridors of history, a testament to the enduring power of the human will. So, as the last echoes of their world fade into the gentle quiet of your own space, allow yourself to drift. The fields they tilled, the homes they built, the songs they sang, these are now part of the vast, comforting silence of history. Let their quiet strength become your own, guiding you towards a deep and peaceful slumber. The enduring legacy of the medieval peasant, a timeless lullaby, will accompany you through the night. Rest now and dream of the quiet resilience that shaped the world. And so, our gentle journey through the quiet world of the medieval peasant comes to its peaceful close. We have walked their fields, felt the warmth of their hearts, and witness their unwavering spirit in the face of immense challenges. Their lives, though seemingly distant in time, offer profound reflections on resilience, community, and the enduring human connection to the earth. As the last echoes of their story fade, let us carry with us the quiet wisdom they embodied. The very air seemed to hum with the quiet energy of their enduring spirit, a subtle current that permeated every aspect of their lives. Remember the subtle rhythm of their days, dictated not by clocks, but by the sun, the seasons, and the ancient pulse of the land. Recall the strength they drew from their tightly knit communities, where every hand contributed to the survival of the whole, and shared sorrows were softened by collective empathy. Reflect on their profound faith, which offered solace and meaning in a world often chaotic and unpredictable, and their rich tapestry of beliefs, which intertwined the sacred with the everyday. The quiet hum of their collective faith, a timeless melody, continues to resonate through the corridors of history, a testament to the enduring power of belief. Consider the shadows they faced, the gnawing specter of famine, the invisible menace of disease, and the pervasive authority of their feudal lords. Yet through it all, they found ways to adapt, to endure, and to find moments of joy and connection. Their resilience was not a grand act of defiance, but a continuous, quiet persistence, the unwavering commitment to planting seeds even after a devastating harvest, the patient mending of a leaky roof, the simple act of making do with what little they had. The quiet hum of their perseverance, a timeless melody, continues to echo through the corridors of history, a testament to the enduring power of the human will. Their legacy is not etched in stone monuments or celebrated in epic poems, but woven into the very fabric of our shared human story. They were the silent majority, the hands that tilled the soil, built the foundations of our societies, and ensured the continuity of life through centuries of change. Their quiet strength, their capacity for endurance, and their deep connection to the natural world offered timeless lessons for our own hurried lives. The quiet hum of their daily lives, a symphony of gentle breaths and soft rustles, would settle over the land, a comforting blanket of peace. The very air seemed to hold the unspoken understanding that their collective well-being depended on the harmonious resolution of individual conflicts. As you prepare for your own rest, allow the peaceful echoes of their world to settle gently around you. Imagine the quiet village, nestled under a vast star-filled sky, the smoke curling lazily from the thatched roofs, the gentle breathing of those within. The wind whispers through the trees, carrying the scent of damp earth and distant wood smoke. The world is still, save for the soft sounds of nature, a timeless lullaby. The quiet hum of the sleeping village, a symphony of gentle breaths and soft rustles, would settle over the land, a comforting blanket of peace. The moon, a silent sentinel, would cast its gentle light over the sleeping world, a timeless presence in their nocturnal rhythms. Let the story of their quiet resilience become a comforting presence, guiding you towards a deep and restorative sleep. Release the day's concerns and allow your mind to drift into the peaceful embrace of the night. The enduring spirit of the medieval peasant, a testament to the strength found in simplicity and perseverance, will watch over your dreams. Rest now, deeply and peacefully, knowing that even in the quietest corners of history, there is profound wisdom to be found. Good night.